back in the Fat Shark offices, and we're here with Robin, who's going to spill the beans on War of the Roses, a game that was announced back at Gamescom, I believe. It's been a few months. Where are you at in development right now, and what's going on in the studio?
Well, we are in the middle. There's a lot of testing. I mean, we test every day, so it's put in new features. We've got most of the weapons in and so on, but it's like test the game modes and all the stuff that needs constant iteration. Because since it's a multiplayer game, it's so important that everything is like perfect and that everything is balanced and so on. And, well, we haven't really got to actually having close to balance. It's more about like trying to flesh out what we actually want to do, like what is the core of the game and what essentially makes it fun. And it's getting really nice.
So is it enjoyable at this stage to play it, and how is
It is enjoyable. It's a bit crashy and buggy and so on, but it's really fun. I mean, people at the office get really engaged in it and kind of start shouting and stuff, but a little bit too much sometimes. But
if you do too well, some paper's gonna come flying your way.
Well, we try to keep it civil.
So, what would you say is the appeal of the game, and what sort of makes people sort of involved in it and draws them in?
Well, it's because it's unique in the way that it has melee combat in a very like direct control way, very similar to Mount & Blade. It's one of our big inspirations, but we've taken a lot farther with the graphics and also with like updating more to gameplay that's more up to date with other AAA games. Like different unlocks and all that kind of stuff. So progression, basically.
Yeah. Persistence and progression. I think those are two main things when it comes to multiplayer games these days. And sort of what kind of platform will you sort of build for the players to sort of have that?
Well, a lot of different weapons, being able to customize profiles that you can use in game, and different kind of like perks and that kind of stuff, special abilities. We really like to be able to have like being able to choose different combinations to use a weapon a certain way. Like if you have a halberd and use it with maybe a certain perk, it will be different than if you use it in another way. Or what happens if you don a big armor, then maybe you're a really like tanky character, but somebody who could use the same weapon and then just use light armor and be really agile and be able to abuse that. So it's a lot about like maximizing or adapting to your playstyle and being able to configure it a lot with what gear and unlocks and stuff.
And sort of how, because it's such a the battles are massive, and sort of how do you sort of avoid it being just a complete mess, and sort of trying to get some sort of organization in the battles out there?
Well,
or do you give players hint on how to play the game, or is it just up to the players to sort of organize themselves?
It's both, really. I mean, in a way, it's always down to the player to kind of decide what he wants to do and how he wants to team play and so on. But I mean, we have stuff like squads and that kind of stuff. We'll see how, like, what's actually fun and, like, what kind of team play encouraging stuff we have. But the scope will probably be a lot bigger than in, say, Lenin Gold, which was only 10 players. So obviously you have to adapt. And there's a lot of stuff like scaling maps and different stuff to make it, more viable to team play and more essential, really.
So in terms of team play and maps, are you looking to create different maps with the same kind of modes, or different modes and modes that run across different maps, or?
I don't know at this point exactly like what maps will be running, what modes and so on, but definitely it will be several. We will have several maps, and they will all be running several game modes. There might be maps that are specific to one game mode, and there might even be game modes that are specific to one map. But probably most maps will be able to be played on most game modes, kind of like Letting Go, I guess.
Is there a mode that you would say is like the main mode, the one that sort of most people will play, or that you enjoy most, or are they sort of equally balanced?
At this point, they're probably equally balanced. It's hard to like decide what is. That's one of the things we're really iterating on, and like how can we make the modes well fit the gameplay. I mean, obviously we could just copy Battlefield and do whatever they do, but since our core gameplay is still significantly different with all the melee and stuff, we have to experiment a bit.
So of course War of the Roses take place in Great Britain, and what sort of diversity and stuff does that afford you in terms of the maps, and what can we expect to see?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's cities, villages, forests, castles. I mean, obviously, everything will be in England, but I still think I mean, it's a lot more variation than, say, if you'd put all your maps in Iraq or something like that. There's a lot of different locales, even if most of them are like human-made. Like the difference between a city and a castle is quite significant. And the level design in that respect will really decide how the map is played. Like a map that's maybe a big field with a little village might be very viable to use horses a lot, while like a big castle, maybe horses aren't as good, and you'll play more with crossbows and bows and that kind of stuff.
So the horse, is that also something you can add perks to and upgrade?
There are definitely different settings for the horse. Exactly what we'll see. what exactly what
Horse armor.
There is horse armor, as you can see in the movie there. So yeah.
Maybe as a DLC. I don't know.
No, there will definitely be horse armor in the game. No Oblivion pay DLC for horse armor.
So where are you at right now, and then sort of when do you think you'll be ready?
Well,
not a tough question.
Yes, where we are right now. Where we are right now is like nailing all the stuff we've implemented, and like really making sure that it's fun, and like what the different roles of all the stuff. I mean, we have a huge like historical treasure chest of stuff to put in the game, like halberds, axes, swords, shields, and well, a bunch of different types of all these maces and all stuff. So it's a lot about like we have a lot of the stuff in. It's a lot about like seeing what's fun and how do we make them different and that kind of stuff. When we will be done, I don't know if I'm allowed to say. No.
Next year sometime.
Yeah, next year sometime probably.
That's the perfect PR answer, I think. Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you.